Well, welcome along to the penultimate extra time of the season here on LCFC Radio and LCFC TV. It's gone pretty well for the Foxes in the past week or so. 2 wins against Norwich and Watford, and 2 very good, strong wins against Norwich and Watford, which we'll talk about here on the show. We'll look ahead to the final games of the season, away to Chelsea and at home to Southampton. These guys will pick their men's player of the season and their men's goal of the season. That's the end of season awards tonight. And with the Premier League just a week away from finishing, these guys can pick maybe who they think will end up in certain positions as well. Without further ado, let's introduce them. We've got a full house today. 2 former strikers, 1 former defender. Gerry Taggart, Tony Cottee and Iwan Roberts with us. Iwan, you were down at Vicarage Road, one of your old clubs, weren't you, on Sunday for us for LCFC Radio? Did you enjoy going back there?
I always do. It's quite a close one for me, Dan. It's only 2 hours away from Norwich. And there's still a few people at the club that were there, believe it or not, when I was there, sort of late 80s, early 90s. And it's a really friendly club. I always get a nice welcome. So it's always nice to go back. It's always nice to go back to, I've said 99% of your former clubs.
I won't ask you which ones you don't want to go back to, Ewan. Gerry Taggart, how are you this morning?
Yeah, very well done. Yeah, enjoyed the game yesterday. Stroll in the park, I think they called it, or a walk in the park yesterday. So yeah, capped off a really good week, as you say, and things looking a lot brighter in regards to the league table.
Yeah, you did the game on Zoom, so I'm sure you went for a stroll in the park yourself, Gerry, which maybe ended at a pub yesterday evening. Tony Cottee as well, that silence is deafening, Gerry. Tony, how are you? You've obviously been quite busy, jetting off a lot in the last couple of weeks, but unfortunately, like Leicester, West Ham fell at the last but one hurdle.
Yeah, they did, Dan, and I think I said on the show before I left, I love to see as many teams in the final as possible. So, really disappointed to see firstly Man City go out, and then of course to see my 2 old clubs, West Ham and Leicester, go out. And then I made the trip to Frankfurt and then flew direct to Turkey. But I really need to sack my PA, Dan, because whoever it was put my flights in for yesterday. So of course I'm travelling yesterday, landing at the same time all the games are kicking off, which is, by the way, I'm the PA, so I've got to sack myself. So it wasn't a good, I don't know what I was thinking, but to fly on the last but one Sunday of the season wasn't a good idea. But I did catch up the highlights, and I was pleased to see both West Ham and Leicester getting really, really good results yesterday.
Yeah, we'll come on to those results. Well, we'll come on to the Leicester one certainly straight away then, Tony. Obviously, you said you've seen the highlights, and as we said at the top of the show, as Gerry said, it's been a good week and a needed week, really. 2 games, 8 goals, 6 points. Brendan Rodgers will be a pretty happy man.
Yeah, he will be, Dan, and I think we're at that stage of the season for Leicester. Of course, once you get knocked out of Europe, you then go into playing for pride. You go into playing for places for next season. You go into playing and impressing the manager and showing him that you want to be a part of next season, because every single Premier League club is going to regroup at the end of the season. There'll be players in, players out, and you want to be a part of that. So that's the mode that Leicester have gone into. But you can only but praise the players, Dan, which I've been doing all season. It's been a very difficult season, as we know, with all the injuries that we've spoke countless times about. But we've got the injured players back now, and you look at the results. Really good result against Norwich, and followed up with what in the end was a very, very comfortable win against Watford. So nothing but praise to get 6 points, and the target really is quite simple now, isn't it? To try and catch Wolves and get into 8th position, which, bearing in mind all what's gone at the club in terms of injuries, I think will be a fantastic league placing.
Yeah, well, a week ago, Gerry, you probably didn't expect Leicester would have been able to do that, but with those 2 wins and with the results that Wolves have had as well, that is very much possible and technically actually in Leicester's hands.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, Leicester with 2 games left. Wolves with just the 1, I think it is. Yeah, that's right. And they've got to go to Liverpool on the last day of the season. The goal difference for Leicester is better as well. So yeah, I mean, it will obviously all go down to the last game of the season, I think. Well, yeah, obviously, whether or not, obviously depending on the score on Thursday night, first and foremost. But I strongly believe that Leicester can go to Chelsea and get something. Chelsea haven't been in great form in the league of recent, and those 2 results that Leicester have just pulled out of the bag will mean that they'll go into that game, thinking, really believing that they can get something out of it.
Which they can, Ewan. And Chelsea, they've had a really poor home record this season. We'll touch upon this game properly a little bit later. But just on this point, while we're on it, and while Leicester can potentially come eighth, Chelsea have been poor at home in 2022. They went all the way to penalties, of course, on Saturday in the FA Cup final. So it's a big chance for Brendan Rodgers and his side.
It is. I mean, first and foremost, they've got to get over losing their third successive cup final in the manner that they did on Saturday evening. You're right, Dan, their home form hasn't been great. Arsenal went there, put 4 past them. Madrid went there in the first leg and put 3 past them. Brentford went there and scored 4 at Stamford Bridge. And they've got 2 wins in 7. So it's not a Chelsea side full of confidence. Completely the opposite to this Leicester team now. 2 games, 8 goals. Probably the season is coming to an end at just the wrong time, with Leicester gaining all this momentum. But they will need it in these next 2 games, and if they can get 4 points from Chelsea and Southampton, and I fully expect the team to beat Southampton at the King Power a week yesterday. If they get 4 points, I think they've got a great chance of overtaking Wolves and finishing 8th. And what a season that will be when you reflect back on all the problems that Brendan's had.
How pleased will he be with the last couple of games, Ewan? Because, albeit both Norwich and Watford were already relegated, but they still had to win those games, and they won them both fairly convincingly.
Oh, it was comfortable, Dan. You look at the first half against Norwich, and Norwich came and had a go, to be fair. I think that's as good as they've played in recent weeks in that first half. But, we spoke about the first goal in that game, and when Leicester got it, it was just a matter of how many then. How many did Leicester want to go on? And you can only beat what's in front of you. And people will say, there's no pressure on Norwich and Watford. They know their fate. And that is possibly true, but they're still 2 very, very poor teams. I think the good thing is, I think it was no wins in 7 or no wins in 8 before the Norwich game. So it was important that the lads brought an end to that disappointing run of results. And, you look at yesterday, it was a dominant display. Lads could have had a few more, set back on 4 minutes when they concede that goal. But it only took Leicester 12 minutes to equalise. And I thought that was key. And in the end, I think I look back at that second half, Dan, and really Leicester didn't really get out of second gear, to be fair. That's how comfortable a win an afternoon it was for them.
Yeah, it was the definition, Gerry, of comfortable, particularly in that second half.
Yeah, you mean Watford had a few forays into Leicester's half, and they had a few shots on target. Danny Ward having to pull off a couple of good saves, but the reality is, Dan, sitting where I was sitting watching it, I never really thought Watford were going to score that second goal. The only way they were going to score a second goal was from the set piece. And after conceding early on in the game, they managed to sort that out from every subsequent set piece from Watford. So, yeah, and that's just a feeling I got throughout that second half. Even though Danny Ward was called in the action, I was never really under any concern that Watford were going to get back into the game. And the third goal, as you said, was, just was a final nail in the coffin for them.
There were some good individual standout performances, Tony Cottee, weren't there, from a Leicester point of view? James Maddison, 2 assists and the goal. Jamie Vardy got a couple of goals. Harvey Barnes got a couple of goals. They're the types of players you want to see on the score sheet, aren't they, really? The attacking forward, exciting players. Hopefully they can all then take confidence into next season.
Well, there's a lot to take from the game, without a doubt. And Brendan will be delighted that the flair players produced. I agree with what the boys have been saying. I mean, it's hard to judge exactly where Leicester are at this moment in time, because they've played against 2 sort of relatively poor teams in the Premier League. And, you look at both Norwich and Watford, and, they're just, it's amazing at the moment, because you've got teams that are too good for the Championship, just not good enough for the Premier League. And Fulham and Bournemouth, another example of that. Sheffield United have still got a chance. Teams that recently got relegated and they're almost coming straight back up. So big problems for those two clubs. But you can only beat what's in front of you. And when you do that, you've got to look at the negatives and you've got to look at the positive. On the negative, Brendan has got a massive problem with set pieces. We've been saying it all season, all three of us, Matt Elliott as well. Whoever's been on the show, we've all been saying it. It is a massive problem and it's got to be sorted out for next season. Conceding goals, all right, it's against a poor Watford team. You're going to beat them. It's not really too much of an issue. But to get back to where Leicester were the season before and the season before that, trying to push for Champions League qualification, that has to be sorted out in the summer. Whether that means new players or new strategy, whatever it might, it's got to be sorted out. On the positive side, as you quite rightly said, Dan, Harvey Barnes, fantastic. Maddison, fantastic. Jamie Vardy, 4 goals in 2 games. He never ceases to amaze me. He really doesn't. I mean, he's just the runs he makes, and it's the one run he runs sort of behind the defender. I can't remember if it was yesterday's game or I watched the Norwich game as well. The highlights, just brilliant runs he makes, and it's a defender's nightmare. And he just looks so sharp. And when he gets in the position now, he's in one of those phases that Jamie goes through as a striker. That me and Ewan would have been there. You have those phases, it's going in the back of the net. You don't even think about it. You just get in that position, you hit your shot or your header, it's going in, and that's where he is at the moment. And all that is really positive news going into that important game on Thursday against Chelsea.
Yeah, I guess, Tony, one of the people who got in touch with the show yesterday sort of said that imagine where Leicester would be if Jamie Vardy had been fit all season. Now, he obviously can't guarantee that players will be fit for a whole season, but you'd get the sense that Leicester would be higher up, and we'd be talking about these games against Chelsea and Southampton probably in terms of European positions and where Leicester could potentially finish. That's how much they've missed Vardy in the amount of games that he has missed.
Yeah, and the defensive problems, Dan, it's been a double whammy for the club, hasn't it? If you lose your top defenders and you lose your top goal scorer, there's no team in the Premier League that can cope with that. And I include Liverpool, Man City as well. Look at Man City defensively yesterday with 3 centre-halves out. It is very difficult for clubs. So, the defensive side of things, hopefully they'll all be fit for next season. But Jamie's just got to be managed properly over the next couple of seasons. I still think he's got a good couple of seasons left in him. And I think what is really, really good, he's got a manager who understands the player, who wants to help the player and just get him in top fitness condition to play matches. What he has done as well, the manager, which is great, he's got Daka, he's got Iheanacho as well. Whether those two will both stay for next season, we don't know yet because things obviously change in the summer. But you need good backup for Jamie Vardy because you can't have that pressure. We all know how important he is and how good he is and how vital he is for Leicester. But you can't with the week in, week out football. All right, there's not going to be European football next year, but it's still relentless stuff, League Cup, FA Cup, etc. So you've got to manage him properly. And I think with Brendan as a manager, he will do that. And I think the Leicester fans can look forward to at least another couple of seasons of Jamie banging the goals in. He's been absolutely phenomenal over the last 10 years. I can't praise him highly enough for what he's achieved, his career from Fleetwood, etc. And Premier League winner, FA Cup winner, scoring goals for England and Leicester. Absolutely brilliant.
He's quite comfortably, Ewan, got the best minutes per goal ratio in the Premier League this season.
I'm just looking at the list now. He's 8th top scorer, 14 goals in 23 appearances. Then you've got 3 above him on 15. De Bruyne, who's played 29 games. Jota played 33. Mane's got 33. Harry Kane's got 2 more goals than him, but he's played 13 more games. Obviously, you've got Ronaldo on 18. He's played 30. Son's got 21 in 34, and Salah's got 22 in 34. And it's a big if, I know. Had Jamie Vardy kept himself fit for the majority of the season and played the majority of the Premier League games, he wouldn't be far off getting the Golden Boot again, I don't think. And we've spoken about it on numerous occasions. How do you replace Jamie Vardy? I think it's impossible. I do. I think that's how hard a job it is for Leicester to replace Vardy, because who's going to replace Kane at Spurs? Man City are still struggling to replace Aguero. I know they've got Haaland in now, and we're yet to see what he's going to achieve in the Premier League. I just think it's an impossible job. They've brought Daka in, who's had a very good first season. Iheanacho's been there for a few seasons now, and I think there's still a bit more to come from him. but it's an impossible job for the centre forward to put up the numbers season in, season out that Jamie Vardy has. It's an impossible job to replace him.
Yeah, and you can see that, Gerry, can't you? When he doesn't play, not that Daka and Iheanacho, when they come in, they do score goals. It's just Jamie Vardy just strikes a fear, doesn't he, in opposition fans, in opposition defenders, that immediately seems to put them on the back foot.
That's the biggest issue, is his presence on a football pitch. How do you replace that? How do you bring a player in? Just one player. And that's all it is at the end of the day. One player coming in and creating this presence, this aura around himself that puts the fear of God into opposition defences. And that is, as much as his goals are vital for the club, it's just his on-field presence. And unfortunately, at the minute, the other two strikers at the club, Iheanacho and Daka, just don't possess that presence on a football pitch. And that's one of the biggest issues that the club have moving forward into the future when he does eventually hang his boots up. Now, I'm not saying they can't get that presence, Iheanacho and Daka, but you've got to say that Jamie Vardy will not play every game next season. And so he will be replaced for Premier League games. Or he will play an hour, or he'll come off the bench for half an hour, stuff like that there. So that is a big issue for Brendan and the rest of the staff moving forward.
And Daka, as we've spoken about, Tony, on this show, I know a number of times, has I think it's 13 goals that he's scored, which for a debut season in the Premier League, when you're not used to the league, you've come from abroad, I think you've got to say that is a good first season for someone like Patson Daka.
Fantastic, Dan, and not playing regular football. Because the most important thing as a footballer, and the boys will agree with me on this, is to play regular football. You want to be in the team. You've got to play 6-7 games on the trot just to get your match fitness and your sharpness. And, he's been in and out of the team. Yes, a couple of times he's played consecutive games, etc. and that. But, I know there was the 4 goals in the one game, but it's still a really good goals return from him. And I've said, I think there's potential there. It's only potential, man. There's potential there to eventually replace Jamie Vardy. Will he be Jamie Vardy? No, of course he won't. He's going to be Patson Daka. But I think there's signs. I don't know whether Ewan agrees with me on this, but I've seen signs of him making those runs, playing on the last shoulder of the defenders, scoring goals. He's got to learn the game. You've got to learn the Premier League. You don't learn it in one season. If you come from abroad into the Premier League, very, very few players, and you can include Thierry Henry in that, the very, very few players come and hit the ground running and absolutely sensational or do it consistently. They might have a good first season and not so good second season. It's very hard to be consistent in the Premier League, but potentially, and it's that key word, potentially, I think Leicester have got a really good signing in Patson Daka. They've got to nurse him. While Jamie's about, he's probably going to work well because he'll still be learning his game. And he'll be standing in training, watching the master finisher doing what he does and looking and learning from him. And when you play in the games, you try and take that in to the game. You try and do what Jamie Vardy's doing, but you also want to be your own player as well. So I think it's actually working quite well. The main thing for Brendan is to keep not only Patson Daka happy, but to keep Iheanacho happy as well. Then you keep the pressure on Jamie Vardy. He sets the standards, and the 2 boys are then trying to get in the team as well. But I'm quite excited about Patson Daka for next season. I think he'll get more game time. And if he gets more than 13 goals, listen, no one's going to be arguing about that. They'll be more than happy at Leicester.
Yeah, do you agree, Ewan?
I've seen enough of him to see that he's a threat. He knows where the goal is. And you only had to look at his numbers from Red Bull Salzburg to realise he knows where the back of the net. I think when he's not quite as cute and as shrewd as Jamie Vardy is when he's got his back to goal. Don't think that's his strong point. And when you're playing that lone striker, I think you have to be able to have a defender right up against you. And Jamie Vardy don't mind that. I look at Jamie. He's got that little bit of nastiness as well. He knows how to look after himself on the football pitch. He won't take any crap from whatever centre half. I wouldn't say he's the biggest centre forward. I think that's what Daka's got to get into his game, and I think it'll come. He's a young man. He's still learning. You know, he's had a tremendous first 10, 11 months at his new club. He's settled in really well. There's more to come. You know, and you can't argue with the numbers when he's not started as many games as he would have liked. But yes, as I say, I think he can look, watch, and learn so much in the next few months when he's watching Jamie Vardy train and play.
Speaking of learning, I know they're different positions, Iwan, but Harvey Barnes, he gets into positions that forwards get into. That finish for his goal yesterday, where he curls it around. We've seen him do that a lot, haven't we? Open his body up, put it in the far corner. They're the types of things he can learn from Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, I mean, his strength is his strength. We talk about Pats and Daka still, Dan.
Sorry, Harvey Barnes.
Oh, I mean, how many times have we seen Harvey do that from that left-hand side? You know, cut in, and you know what he's going to do. He's going to try and bend it to the goalkeeper's left, and he's outstanding at doing that. I look at Harvey now in his last two games. He looks like he's getting back to his best. You know, he's had a few injury problems. Let's say lost his way, just had a dip in form, and that happens to everybody. I mean, his first goal yesterday, which killed the game basically after 17 seconds of the second half beginning. It's completely unmarked, but it's a fantastic volley with his left foot. You know, and those aren't easy. People think he's unmarked, he should score. He's 8 yards out, but that comes to you so quickly. You haven't got much time to react. You've got to get your body shape correct for you to, you know, get good contact on the volley. He's a good player, Dan. He's a very, very good player. You know, he's been in the England squad. I spoke to yesterday, and I look at the two English boys in that Leicester team yesterday, who have had good seasons and are having good finish, who are having a good end to the season. James Maddison and Harvey Barnes. Now, England have got some massive games coming up. They've got a World Cup in November, and they want to be knocking on the door. They want to be part of Gareth Southgate's, you know, 23-man squad, however much it is, and they've got to keep performing as they have been. And if they will, you know, they won't be far off.
You don't score goals like his first one, Gerry, do you? Yesterday, without being a good player, a left foot volley like that, coming at pace. Straight after the half-time break as well, which I don't know if that makes things more difficult, if your concentration isn't quite there because you've just come back out.
Yeah, I thought it was a very, very good finish indeed. I spoke about it yesterday where the ball, there was an option for him to take it on the half volley. And you probably probably better off asking Tony and you in this, but in my opinion, it's easier when the ball's a little bit higher to hit it on the volley rather when it's closer to the ground. The technique involved is probably a little bit easier, and the timing of it, because you can be indecisive, or you can decide, I'll tell you what, I'm going to hit this on the half volley, or shall I just hit it on the volley when it's so close to the ground? Is a difficult skill in my mind. So yeah, very, very good finish indeed from Harvey for that. Both of them were excellent finishes in fairness, but that was a player playing with confidence. That first goal just after half time, that was a player who's full of confidence, and he showed that. I mean, he stuck his foot right through it. Great technique. Didn't phase him, the height of the ball whatsoever. He's made his mind up early to take it on the volley, even though it was so close to the ground. And he got his rewards for being decisive.
Was that the goal of the day, do you think, Tony, from a Leicester point of view, out of all five?
Yeah, probably, Dan. Tags is right. It was a difficult skill. I think the thing I would praise Harvey with is this season where he's developed his decision making, and I think that's key to. Yeah, of course, confidence plays a big part in it. We all know that, but you still got to make the right decisions. You got to work out when the ball's coming over like that, how you're going to attack the ball, when you're going to attack the ball. Do you let it come onto you a little bit, or do you go full pace into it and do what he did, just confident, get your foot through it? And the other goal as well, I mean, his last goal where we've seen him do that so many times this season, and that's decision making as well, and also getting your body in the right shape, in the right position to strike a goal. You see so many players, continually in different leagues and different levels, where they make the wrong decisions, and decision making, it's split second as well. You don't get half a second or a second in the box. You get a split second, and you've got to make the right decision, which he did for his first goal. He made the right decision on how to finish it. And the second goal was about getting his body in the right position, opening up his body to give him the chance to whip it across the goalkeeper. Because again, some players, they just get square onto the ball. They can't hit it with their right foot or their left foot. Or some players, they let it go across their body onto their weaker foot. And you're thinking, what are you doing that for? Because you're a right-footed player. But he's playing with supreme confidence at the moment. And, some of his finishes this season have been absolutely fantastic. Again, another player that was out through injury. And if you add up all those injuries and all the games that have been missed by key players, key Leicester players, there's a big argument. We've spoke about the defence. We've spoke about Jamie Vardy. You can speak about James Maddison. But if you're picking your best Leicester team, surely Harvey Barnes is in that team. And he's a fundamental aspect of what they try and do and their counter-attacking play and getting the goals as well. I love him as a player. He really excites me.
Barring Kasper Schmeichel and Danny Ward, that change, Tony, it was probably as strong as Brendan Rodgers can possibly go yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there was a couple of changes, weren't there? But obviously Kasper will come back into the team, but it was the right thing to do. I know Kasper. I can only imagine what Kasper was like in that dressing room. Yeah, he'd have been, come on, Dan, and all that sort of stuff. But inside, he will be thinking, I've just played 149 games or whatever it is, and and you've not played me, sort of thing. Any footballer who says otherwise is telling absolute porcupines, because we all want to play games. If you're on a run, particularly as a goalkeeper, if you're playing every single game, of course you want to play in all the games. But it was the right thing to do, from the manager, and I'm sure Kasper will be back in goal on Thursday night. A game that I'm doing, Dan. I'm back in the commentary box, and I'm looking forward to it at Stamford Bridge on Thursday.
Yeah, it'd be great to have you back, Tony. Final point on the game yesterday, Ewan. A word for Danny Ward. Obviously, you know him fairly well, don't you? You cover pretty much all of Wales' games. He's now Wales #1, so I'm sure you were pleased to see him back in there. Is that contentious? Is it?
It is a little bit, Danny. He did play in the playoff game against Austria because obviously he had that knee injury that he picked up, hadn't he? So he missed that game. Big Wayne came in and was outstanding on the night, to be fair. The plus point for us, we've got 2 top-class goalkeepers. And Danny had made that position his own. He's had to be patient, as he has at Leicester. Big Wayne's been tremendous for Wales. But he got his opportunity. I think he played the last few games in qualifications. He had a terrific Euros. Okay, conceded 4 against Denmark, but we were horrible against Denmark in the last 16. There was no fault for Danny. Against Switzerland, against Turkey, against Italy, he was outstanding. And he did have that #1 shirt. But because he missed that game against Austria, it's a big decision to make. And do you know what, Dan? I'd be confident with either Danny or Wayne. It doesn't make much difference to me because neither have let us down when they've played. It's just amazing that yesterday was his first Premier League appearance for the football club, and he didn't have a lot to do in that first half, hardly anything to do. And when you've been given a chance as a goalkeeper, you want to show what you're capable of. And I think he did that in the second half. He made some really good saves in that second half. So very similar to Wales. And I'll tell you what I noticed after when the final whistle went. 99% of the Leicester fans went to the Leicester fans, or Leicester players went to the Leicester fans to thank them for coming. Kasper Schmeichel went straight off the bench and walked to the opposite goal to shake Danny Ward's hand. And I think that tells you everything about Schmeichel as a teammate and as a person.
Right, we touched upon the Chelsea game a little bit earlier, Gerry, didn't we? And you seem relatively confident, don't you, going into that game on Thursday?
I do. I say, Ian will give you Chelsea's home stats in a minute. But obviously, their home form is good. Their form in general hasn't been great. They're missing a raft of players, to be fair, as well. So you see how it's affected them. But yeah, I mean, as Ewan said, Brentford went there and stuck 4 past them at Stamford Bridge, which was a major upset and a major shock. Obviously, Leicester, you're talking about frailties for Leicester, which are obviously from set pieces. And in Antonio Rudiger, Chelsea have someone who sort of, curses Leicester from set pieces, shall we say. So it's obviously an issue going into that game. But as far as in general play and the general game, then, yeah, I feel pretty confident. Having watched the last two games and having watched Jamie Vardy in particular, Maddison, Barnes, all sort of stepping up their levels. And if they bring those sort of levels into the game on Thursday night, then we're in for a cracker for sure. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident.
Just a quick word on that table again and on chasing Wolves. You get the idea that 3 points will actually probably be enough in the last two games, Gerry, because of Wolves' last game, as you said, at Anfield. The goal difference for Leicester is 3 goals better. So as long as they don't lose heavily in either of the two and win the other one, that will probably be enough.
Yeah, I know, and it's easy saying that, and obviously, nothing's done and dusted. But if you're Brendan Rodgers, he'll be analysing every aspect of the league table, and he will understand 4 points, which I think's really gettable from the next two games. We'll obviously see them through, and even as we said, a narrow defeat and then a win against Southampton will do the same. But we'll lift them up that extra place. So there's a lot to play for. It's only one spot, but it's still a lot to play for. It really is. So yeah, they've got to feel confident going into Thursday night's game. Nothing to fear, Dan. Basically, yes, it's Chelsea. They come with a reputation. They've got global stars playing for them, but they're not playing well together. It was a bit like going away to Manchester United a couple of months ago and thinking, yeah, we can get something here. At the minute, they're just not clicking, Chelsea. So yeah, they've got to feel confident.
It is an 8 o'clock kickoff on Thursday, so join us for Matchday Live from 6:30. As Tony's just referenced, he'll be there on co-commentary duty, doing Matt Elliott another favour, which I know that will infuriate Gerry Taggart. Before that, though, this evening, in fact, at King Power Stadium, it's the end of season awards for the Foxes. There's all sorts of awards taking place, from men's player of the season to women's player of the season to men's goal of the season to academy players of the season. There's so many awards that the Leicester fans have been able to vote for that voting has now closed. But I've asked you three, well, Iwan did it last week on the show for those of you listening. Obviously, last week you heard what Matt and Iwan had to say, but now Tony and Gerry have got their turn. And men's player of the season, I've asked you to pick out for us. Tony, Cottee, who have you gone for?
Oh, this is a tough one, Dan. And you put me on the spot as well about half hour ago and told me questions. So I've had loads of time to think about it. What a difficult season to choose a player of the year because of the injuries. I just feel like I keep saying about the injuries, but it's been so just so upsetting for everyone at the club, the injuries. And as a result of that, you get players that normally are in contention. The likes, I'm thinking straight away, I think of someone like Johnny Evans, for example, Ricardo, players that are consistently good players on their game, and even Youri Tielemans, you could argue, he had glimpses where he was playing really, really well, but perhaps not throughout the whole season. We've had good performances from a lot of the attacking players and wide players, and then they get injured as well. It's almost impossible to pick a defender as player of the year. One person who I would give a mention to before I name my player of the year, who I think he deserves a mention because he played pretty much every game, and that's Kasper. And I know Leicester have been vulnerable with the set pieces that we've spoken about, but I think to perform week in, week out, there's been some incredible saves from him. He's such a vital part of the team in terms of captaincy, etc., and telling the players what to do and where to go, etc. So I think he deserves a mention. But the player I'm going to go for, I don't know whether this is a surprise or not. I don't know. I've got no idea what Tags is going to say, by the way. But I am going to go for Dewsbury Hall, and the reason for that is since he come into the team, into the Premier League, I think he's been absolutely wonderful. He's been outstanding. I love his attitude to the game. He's got more and more influential, and I'm struggling to think of someone. Did he get the team in November, Dan? I think I'm right in saying November, wasn't it? I'm trying to think of someone over the last 6 months. I know he didn't play the first 4 months, which makes it a strange choice. I get that. but I'm trying to think of someone over the last 6 months who has been more consistent than Dewsbury Hall. Yes, there's been players at times who've had better games, I get that, but I think he's been fantastic. The fact that Brendan's played him every game, he's been playing week in, week out, every Premier League game he's pretty much played, and I've really enjoyed watching him. So I've got no idea what Tags and Ewan said last week, what Gerry's going to say now, but for me, Dewsbury Hall's my winner.
Yeah, Matt Elliott said Dewsbury Hall last week, didn't he, Ewan? We'll reveal who you said when Gerry Taggart has his go at the LCFC Men's Player of the Season.
Well, yeah, Tony's basically covered all bases there, really, as regards to the problem you have picking one player out from the rest of the pack, because it's been your top players have been out. You know, Jimmy Vardy's come back in. He's now joint top goal scorer in all competitions for the season. Casper's played every game. I totally agree. You know, Casper's right up there for me because of he has been available every game, and some of the vital saves he made. Even against Norwich in midweek, his save from Pookie in that first half. That's an incredible save, and it sort of goes under the radar because Jamie scores 2 goals. But I think that was at 0-0. That save, where the one he comes out and blocks it first, and then it falls to Pookie, and Pookie hits it with his left foot, and he just dives on it and gets a really strong hand. Incredible save in a game with not a lot on it. And Dewsbury Hall as well. But I'm not going for either of them, Dan.
Oh, go on then, Tex.
I'm going to give it to James Maddison. Because James Maddison, again, joint top scorer, 16 goals in all competitions this season, and has sort of carried the candle, if you want, when the other players haven't been on form or haven't been available. And especially in Europe, and some of the free kicks he scored, some of the goals he scored, some of the link-up play, I think, has been magnificent. And obviously it's been his best goal return, I think. I'm right in saying, Ewan, in his career this season. So Ewan will obviously pick me up if I'm wrong, but I think 16 goals is his best return in the season. So that's why I'm going to give it to James Mann. But very, 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 very close. I mean, seriously, Dewsbury Hall, Kasper Schmeichel, yeah. But I think he's been the main man when the likes of your Jamie Vardys or your Tielemans haven't been playing on top of the game or haven't been available. And the likes of your Evanses and players like that. He's been the go-to man.
Yeah, it's his first season that he's reached double figures in the Premier League with 10 goals. He got 7 assists as well in the Premier League. As Gerry said, 16 goals in all competitions. I think it is, the general consensus is it's either James Maddison or Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. You said Maddison last week, didn't you? Matt said Kiernan Dewsbury Hall last week. So there's 2 votes
so there you go.
For each of those, which sort of underlines it. You get the sense that if James Maddison does win the Men's Player of the Season, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall will almost guaranteed win the Young Player of the Season. So
goes without saying, Dan. Goes without saying, Dewsbury Hall wins Young Player of the Year. Yeah. And if he doesn't, I mean, where's everybody been for the last 6 or 7 months?
We'll find out this evening. You can follow it all on the LCFC social media accounts and, of course, lcfc.com. Very quickly, we'll get you to pick your goal of the season as well. The nominations, Tielemans, his 2 goals either against Manchester United or against Brentford. Harvey Barnes against Leeds. Dewsbury Hall in Napoli. Maddison against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, his first goal as well against Randers. Albrighton against Rennes, and then the Castagna and Maddison double against Brentford. And Kiernan Dewsbury Hall against Crystal Palace as well. Ewan, which one did you pick last week, quickly?
Well, I sort of did change my mind from earlier in the season when I was asked the question, which one was the better goal from Yuri Tielemans. I mean, I really enjoyed the one against Man U, but having seen that strike at Brentford time and time again, that's got to win it for me. And do you know what, Dan? It's not an easy competition to judge because the standard of goals from Leicester City this year has been unbelievable.
Yeah. Gerry, I'll let Tony go first this time, so Tony can go second, so you can pick your goal of the season for us, please.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I was at Leeds when Harvey Barnes banged that one in, and I thought then, that is right up there. and I thought that would have a chance. But, you know, when you've got 2 nominations, I suppose, and both goals are incredible strikes, then I think Youri Tielemans' goal at Brentford just about shades all the rest. And as Iwan rightly says, you know, you speak Maddison, he's got a couple of nominations in there. Free kick, the one he bends in the far corner at Randers. Harvey Barnes' goal at Leeds. Tielemans against Man U. Tielemans against Brentford. And there's one or two others I know I missed. Even Dewsbury Hall, was it against Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one against Palace I thought was a great goal. A really clever, smart finish. But yeah, for me, Tielemans against Brentford, I mean, that had the wow factor, didn't it? Yeah. You know, you talk about certain goals where you go, God, how's he pulled that off? Or, Jesus, what a bit of skill that was. But that goal at Brentford had the wow factor. I mean, that was just hands down, people off their seats, you know, wow, where's he pulled that from? That's incredible. So I think, yeah, Tielemans against Brentford.
Tony?
Well, the boys have touched pretty much on everything, Dan. I'm sure everyone will be looking forward to seeing the goals. I'll take it they're going to show all the goals before they announce the winner and what competition it's going to be. I've said many times, same as you, and the standard of goals, some of the goals Leicester have scored this season has been absolutely incredible. I agree with the boys about Tielemans one, but just to try and pick another top, because I think that will be in the top 3 as another top 3 goal. I think Harvey Barnes' goal at Leeds. I really enjoyed that goal. I remember doing the morning after, and you know, I think it was a flick from Amate, and he gets it and he lines it up, as I spoke about before, opens his body. And if you'd have said to Harvey, go and put it stand at the net, put it exactly where you would like to put that, that is where the ball went. It was an absolutely phenomenal goal. There's some brilliant camera angles, which I hope they showed for everyone tonight. So I really enjoyed that goal, but I think it's going to be really tough. Harvey Barnes for me, but I think it could well be Youri Tielemans with the Brentford goal.
Just as I said, keep your eyes peeled this evening for who wins what for the Foxes this evening. Quickly, can you pick your results that caught your eye then at the weekend? Tony, you were travelling. Gerry and Iwan were both working. So, Iwan, you can go first.
I'm going to go for West Ham 2, Man City 2. As you know, Dan, I'm a closet Liverpool fan. And that result just keeps our slight hopes of the quadruple alive. I mean, it's still going to be nearly impossible for us to catch Man City, but, you know, fair play to West Ham. Fantastic in that first half. Great penalty save from Fabianski. And I looked at Man City's games and I thought that was the one where they could slip up, and they nearly did. But, you know, it was a great result for West Ham and Jared Bowen at what season he's had, by the way.
Tony, he's probably stolen your pick, has he?
Well, perhaps Tags might want to go. Let Tags. I don't want Tags getting angry. Tags, you go on. You go first.
Well, I'm going to go for Leeds against Brighton. 92nd minute or something like that. Leeds equalise against Brighton. Good Brighton. Great away form this season. And you'd have thought when they took the lead, I think it was in the 21st minute, they were going to see that through, but Leeds somehow, as I say, in injury time, end of the game, managed to salvage a draw, and it's looking very tasty at the bottom of the table. So at both ends of the table, you know, there's a pure scrap going on for obviously one for the title and 2 to avoid relegation. So that point for Leeds has certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons. And obviously it's on my doorstep, so I wouldn't mind them staying in the league.
Finally from you.
Yeah, and following nicely on from that with the relegation scrap, I did manage to see the last half hour of the Everton-Brentford game, so huge disappointment for Everton losing that. They've got a chance to redeem themselves. They're at home to Palace, I think, in midweek. If they win that, they're going to stay in the Premier League, which I think will be a great achievement, and I'll be absolutely delighted for Frank Lampard. Probably one other key result was probably the Spurs-Burnley game, because that gives Spurs a real chance of finishing above Arsenal. Arsenal got Everton last game, so there could be a little bit for both teams on that. And obviously a big loss for Burnley as well. You know, Burnley have got, I think they've got a game in hand, haven't they? Burnley, yeah, they have. So, you know, they've got a chance to stay up as well. But it's going to be fascinating to see who gets relegated. It's very hard to call at the moment. I think maybe slightly just Leeds, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make you all make that call in a minute. I think if the general consensus is Man City comfortably favourites for the title still. Sorry, Tony, but Man United probably just about favourites for that 6th spot. So the two things...
No, Dan. Man United have got Palace away. So I can't see Man United beating anyone at the moment, even the dog and duck. So I think and Manchester United have to win. The biggest problem for West Ham is they're away at Brighton, and Brighton are in really good form at the moment. I think it's more about Brighton-West Ham. I can't see Manchester United winning at Palace because if they draw or lose and West Ham win, then West Ham will get 6th position. So it's going to be fascinating. But I think it's more about the Brighton-West Ham game than Man United because I think they've been really poor, Man United.
Okay. Tottenham or Arsenal then? One word answer, Tony Cottee, for that 4th spot.
Tottenham.
Gerry?
Yeah, I'll go Tottenham.
Iwan?
Tottenham have got Norwich last game of the season, so I'm going to go Tottenham.
Right. And then finally, although Arsenal have got that game in hand as well tonight, but you never know what might happen. Same again, just one word answer from each of you, starting with Iwan. Burnley, Leeds or Everton?
Leeds. Sorry, Tags.
Fingers crossed, Burnley. Because I'm fed up getting myself into scrapes when I'm up there with the Burnley fans.
Sorry, Tags. Leeds for me. I think it's really difficult for Leeds to survive now, I think.
Yeah.
Right, there we go. We'll find out. Well, whoever's on this time next week, then we can look to see who was right and who was wrong. Right, football Jenga time for the penultimate time this season here on Extra Time. With it being the end of season award nominations, I want you to name anybody who was in the nomination list for LCFC Men's Player of the Season. So that basically means anyone that was eligible to play for the first team at any point this season. So there's 40 players to choose from. So I'm hoping we get at least a few rounds between you. So yeah, anyone that was eligible to play for the Leicester first team this season. Ewan Roberts, kick us off for us, please.
Casper Schmeichel.
Yeah. Gerry?
Johnny Ward.
Ricardo.
Jamie Vardy.
Johnny Evans.
Fofana.
Amati.
Castagna.
James Justin.
Luke Thomas.
Albrighton.
So I was trying to remember what we said. Mendy.
Uni Tillemans.
Indeedy.
Madison.
Dewsbury Hall.
Samari.
Harvey Barnes.
Oh. Yannick Vestergaard.
Iheanacho.
Patson Daka.
Lookman.
Jakubic.
Good one, Tags. I can't remember if we said it or not. Bertrand.
Have we said Timothy Castagna?
Yeah.
We have.
You're right.
We
The
have.
favourite.
That was actually a question.
Oh, that was an answer.
No, I wasn't. How have we said that's a question?
No.
I've got.
Dan, come on, Dan, be strong.
Tony and Gerry, I'll let you between you pick whether you want Ewan still in or not.
No, get him out.
He wins every
He wins.
week.
Yeah, right, Ewan, you're out. They've spoken.
Let
The
them
majority
win
have
one.
spoken, I'm afraid.
Let them win one, Dan. There'll be an asterisk by it. There'll be an asterisk by it.
Right, that means it's Gerry head-to-head with Tony then.
Whose goal is it?
It is yours, mate.
All right, Tags, I ain't got much left.
Lewis Brunt.
Good answer.
Good answer. There's going to be. Is there any obvious ones, Dan? There's going to be in there.
There's a few obvious ones still. Yeah.
I can't remember whether he said it or not. Amate, did he say?
Yeah, we've had him. I'm afraid. Right, Gerry, just one to win it then.
I did.
No, you got
it. Tony had to level up.
We always say
answer.
one to win it. Come on.
Tony had to level up with his answer. I've won
You've
it.
got one in the. Tags, you know you've got one in the locker. You know you've got one.
I haven't.
Stop playing to the audience.
Lewis Brunt was my banker. Okay. Right, I have got one actually. But I can't remember. Silver. Is it Silver? The little winger that come on.
Goal.
Yeah. I know you're thinking of Alves, aren't you?
Alves.
Oh,
Yeah,
Perez. We had said Perez, haven't we? The Jose Perez?
Well, technically, Gerry was right. Tony did go last, so he had to sort of level up to
Give us a boom, Tags. Give the boom.
Go on then, Gerry.
Boom!
Yeah, a couple wins in a row for Gerry, that is. So,
Yeah, I'm on fire.
You missed Jose Perez. I'll run you through the list. Will Alves, Sammy Braybrook, Hamza Chowdhury, Vontae Daly-Campbell, Ola Ewing, Shane Flynn, Ethan Fitzu, Wanya Marcel Madavadua, Casey McAteer, Ben Nelson, Chituri Odunze, Tanawat Suen Chitawong, so mainly obviously they were all the development squad players, Jakub Stolarczyk and Kaglar Soyuncu as well. Which is probably the biggest of the ones left that you didn't
brain
get.
freeze. We had a bit of brain freeze.
Old age, Tags, that's cool.
Yeah, that's it. With the pressures builds and the brain fog comes in.
Ewan Roberts is going to be furious all week that his
fuming.
Oh, well, thank you very much to the three of you. So, find out tonight at the end of season awards then. They were all the nominees of who potentially could win the LCFC Men's Player of the Season. The general consensus, though, from our pundits is that it's either going to be Kiernan Dewsbury Hall or James Maddison. So we'll find out tonight, of course. We'll be back on Thursday for Leicester's second to last game of the season, their last away game away at Chelsea. So join us from 6:30 for that. Tony Cottee will be there on commentary duty for us. Gerry will be working. Ewan having a rare game off for us. I'm sure he'll be working somewhere else at some point this week, though. But we'll see you when you're all next on anyway, gents. I do appreciate you coming on as ever.